Well, I have to admit, I am in shock. It's happened. Paul Cook has been sacked as Ipswich Town manager. I'm Ross, as ever. I'm joined by David, Matt, and Bono. We were there in the cold. We saw us draw 0-0 against Barrow, and an hour after, Paul Cook was sacked. Shocked, completely shocked. I'm going to go over to David first. David, you wanted him out pretty much, and you got your wish. He's gone. What's your thoughts, your reaction on this news?
I'm not ecstatic. Obviously, I'm pleased because I think it's the right decision, and I don't see that there was any other option. If we hadn't have done so, then it was just a question of hanging on until when we did in the future. You know, do you wait until you've lost to Charlton and Wigan, say, and then go? I think it was a matter of time. I'm relieved. I'm surprised it's happened. I'm pleased that it's happened for the good of the club and for the good of the season. I'm sorry it's happened. I was sorry when Jewell left. I'm sorry when Keane left. I'm sorry when Lambert left, because it means that I'm sorry that they've left because it means they failed. I wanted Lambert to succeed. At the start of last season, I was predicting we'd finish top two. One of the only ones to do so. I always want you to be able to turn it round. Always do. I can call for John Duncan to be sacked, but I still want them to win the next game and win the next game and win the next game. I still want, to turn it round. So whenever a manager goes, it's sad. But there is a time when that's the right thing to do. And that, for me, is where we are at the moment. It's the right decision. It's sad. You want it to work out. But it's the right decision. If you look at it, Cook said that we'd had one bad performance this season against Rotherham. That's abject cock. We've had one decent performance at home, which is Doncaster, who were piss poor. We weren't good against Charlton. We won because of a moment of brilliance. Not Charlton, against Crewe. We won because of a moment of brilliance by Selina. We were piss poor against Fleetwood and won because of a moment of brilliance from Selina. And that's been the pattern. We've dragged a win out because of an individual moment of brilliance, not because of a pattern of play, not because we're knocking the door down. We failed to beat Colchester. We failed to beat Oldham. We failed to beat Barrow today, all of whom are League Two, none of whom are leading lights in League Two. We struggled against We've struggled against Morecambe. We've struggled against Crewe. We've struggled and struggled and struggled and struggled. And the occasional bright light victory on the road doesn't mask that. I've said it before. I think I said it the day I said I called for Cook to go, which I think was about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and everybody thought I was a fool for saying it. And I was roundly condemned for it. At that point, I compared it to Paul Jewell. The rotating door. Fans have no affinity with the players on the pitch. The players don't come over and applaud the fans. They don't care about us. They'll do it after a win. Morsey came over half-heartedly today. NCR just walked straight off down the tunnel. There's no way under the last 2 or 3 managers, the last 2 or 3 captains, players would have just walked off without acknowledging the North Stand. 4,000 people turned out to watch us lose to a bunch of Arsenal schoolboys on Wednesday, and they couldn't be bothered applauding us. There's something rotten there, and that's not right. So I'm sad to see him go, but it's absolutely the right decision. And if we'd have delayed it, it would have simply have been delaying the inevitable, because there's no sign of improvement. It's not a little incremental thing. It's not that, well, this is going wrong, but we've put this in place and now it's another step. It's just systematically wrong across the whole pitch.
Well said as ever. And over to you, Matt, then. I think we were triple checking if this was actually real. Saturday night, you were on, as you were saying, you're on your way home. Everyone was on their way home or probably in the pub. They see this news. What's your reaction?
I'm still in the pub.
Yeah, he's still in the pub, yeah.
That's not the pub we were in earlier, though, David, was it? Well, no,
No,
I've
changed especially for the benefit of this.
well, David and I and a couple of others went and had a drink and dissected the game afterwards. And so I was just on the bus pulling out of Town Ramparts bus station when I received a WhatsApp from a friend to say he's gone. And I thought, no, surely not. And I quickly logged on to the club's Twitter account. And like you, Ross, and everybody really, I'm shocked. And I think mainly not shocked because I think certainly after today, really that was possibly the last straw. Well, it was the last straw. He's gone. But I'm not, after 14 years of Marcus Evans giving managers more than enough rope, I'm not used to swift and decisive action from the club when it comes to getting rid of a manager. And I'm the same as David. I'm sad to see him go. At the end of the day, he's a human being and he's just lost his job. So I am sad to see him go, but I do think it was the right decision. We were drifting today. I thought particularly in the first half we were really bullied by Barrow, who had a terrible run of form in League Two coming into this game. And it improved slightly in the second half with the introduction of Piggott, but it's gone. I mean, I can't recall off the top of my head, but we've not had a consistent 11 really across that system. And the players need to take a long, hard look at themselves. And I've seen Sammy Morsey's put a tweet out recently to say that the players didn't do it for him and they need to take a look in the mirror and so forth. And there is an argument to say, the players have got to shoulder their blame, but ultimately Paul Cook is the manager implementing the system, running the training, and he had to go, and now is the best time to do it because there is a January transfer window coming up to strengthen. I don't think we need to see. We had 19 players come in the summer. We don't need to see more wholesale changes, but there's strengthening to do. But there is time. The top six is not impossible. Still, top two is gone. Top two has been gone for some time now, except for a few weeks. The top six, it's unlikely for me, but it's not impossible. And I think, like David said, if we delayed any further, then the season we definitely would have been staring down the barrel of a fourth season in the third tier. And at the risk of sounding arrogant, we shouldn't be in the third tier of English football. We hadn't been in this division since 1957 before 2019.
Yeah, it's bleak at times seeing us in League One, but we're here. And Bono, over to you to have your final say on the reaction on Paul Cook being sacked. I was just looking at these stats. It's not a great win ratio. 14 games in charge, 13 wins, 17 draws, and 14 defeats. It's not great, is it?
No, it's totally not, and it's not been good for a while, has it? I mean, I took my daughter today for her second game, and it's the second draw that she's seen in the freezing cold. And got the train back to Stowe, and I was just refreshed my phone, had a little ping come up from the Ipswich Twitter, and it was like, holy cow, it's happening. I was taken aback. I mean, I sat down freezing my ass off, but wow, we have got the board, the new owners have really shown their teeth, and it's, I was saying to the guys before, it's not something that I can't remember us ever being like this ruthless. I honestly thought Cook would have the season, and they didn't. They'd indicated that before, on the premise that wholesale changes takes time to gel. But wow, we're at the start of December. We're about to embark upon a really tough run, possibly a season-defining run of games. And like Matt said, the top two probably are out of reach. But if we do put a run of form together, obviously with a new manager at the helm, there's no reason why we can't make a push for the playoffs. I've always said keep the faith, dare to dream, all these other kind of whimsical superlatives type thing. But wow, just just completely taken aback by it. We were poor today. Like David said, we haven't had many decent games. We are better. We are better than what our results suggest. I've seen a lot of comparisons between Paul Lambert and Paul Cook. The kind of form almost mirrors each other on a little graph that I've seen. There's no doubt that when we're playing well in games, which, yes, isn't often enough, the football is so much more easier on the eye. But, where did it go wrong? Paul Cook, thoroughly likeable guy, helped reconnect the club with the fans, something that towards the end of Lambert's reign, it was so toxic. Portman Road was not a nice place to be at the end of Paul Lambert's tenure. And just the stubbornness with the 4-2-3-1. I know the jury's certainly out on that system. I liked the principle of it, like the idea of it. When it worked, it was brilliant, but it didn't work often enough. We need more than a good game every 7 or 8 games. And with the players that we've got, the squad that we've got, we should be putting teams to the sword. There's no doubt. Like Matt talks about arrogance. I do feel there is a little sense of entitlement from certain sections of the fan base. But obviously, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Paul Cook going. The human side, I've lost jobs. I've been made redundant. It's horrible. It hurts. It's embarrassing. I've never wanted a manager out. I never wanted our team to lose. I think when you do want a manager to go, you're kind of wanting your team not to do well, which is just a really odd kind of frame of mind. But yeah, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Who do we go to? Who knows?
That's the big question. And you mentioned it earlier in your chat. Where did it go wrong? With Paul Cook and David. Over to you. You can lead this. Where did it all go wrong for Paul Cook? He had a blank canvas. He had basically his wish list of all the players he wanted, and unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out for him.
I'll first of all, I'll just take a small issue with something that Bono said. I wanted the manager out, but that doesn't mean to say I wanted us to lose, because I wanted to be wrong. I wanted him to win against Colchester. I wanted him to win against Oldham. I wanted him to win against Oxford, and I wanted to come out in 5 or 6 games' time on the basis of 5-6 wins out of 7, and everyone say, "Yeah, I was wrong. Fair play, I was wrong." There are times when I like being proved wrong. It gives me no satisfaction when you turn around and these things happen. But where did they go wrong? I think in part in recruitment, and I think that you can see an echo in Burley. When we got promoted and we punched above our weight with a side that had done well. They played together. They'd done all of that. Burley was giving us some money. When we finished 5th, Sereni, George, and the lot, and the sum of the new parts wasn't equal to the sum of the old parts, even though they might have been better players. And I have to say that the recruitment in the summer, it's thrilling and exciting in many ways, but you end up with 400 players to play in behind the striker, which when Cook said he wanted a small squad, isn't what he wanted, what he said he wanted. Which means that then he doesn't know which is his best way of playing what things. If he'd only had 5 players for those 3 positions, life might have been a lot easier for him and given you a better settled pattern of play. Recruitment as well leaves you unbalanced in midfield. I mean, you think about the start of the season when we were hemorrhaging goals and we didn't have Morsey. Morsey came in right at the end and Cook said, "We won't see any more performances like Bolton once he's in the team." That's a hell of a lot to put on one player. He's a championship, good League One, good championship, central midfielder, defensive midfielder. He's not the second coming of Maradona. And to have only one defensive midfield player, while you've got El Mazzuni, Nolan, Evans, Harper, etc., Carroll for the other position, strikes me that it was slightly football manager-ish in that I've got a big budget, I'm going to go and buy players, rather than looking at it on a squad-by-squad basis and saying, I want that one and I want that one, and I need somebody to cover there. I don't think that helped. But above and beyond, absolutely. And I also think that circumstance, I don't think that left back has helped him at all. You know, I think he wanted Coulson as his first choice and Penny as the understudy. And I think having Coulson out and then Penny being ropey, you end up with a very capable youngster coming in. But that's not helped at all. The left side of this team has not functioned once this season. The best we've seen was Fraser and Selina away at Lincoln. But the left side of the whole team has just not functioned. And that, to be fair, isn't Cook's fault. But above and beyond, it's Cook's refusal, abject refusal, to shift from 4-2-3-1. I wrote about it on Twitter this week. I don't agree with the philosophy. I don't like two sitting midfielders. For me, midfield is the engine room of your side. You have a destroyer and you have a playmaker, or you have a destroyer in your box to box, you know, a Walker, a Magilton alongside somebody who kicks, because that's where you create. Cook and I have a different philosophy. That's fair play. If you're looking on his terms, though, early doors, flying wing backs, midfield didn't cover behind the wing backs, which is why we hemorrhaged goals, because they could just run through, ball in behind, goal. You put in Ganassi and it shores us up, but then you haven't got the width. So equally higher up the top against Rotherham, you've got three narrow number 10s. So you don't change anything else. You just go, you're going to play the way I want you to play. You have to adapt, whether that's in-game by shifting somebody forward, pushing Fraser into a more attacking role. When Evans scored 3 against Doncaster, he was criticised by Cook for getting forward too often. You know, that's the thing. This 4-2-3-1 might on paper work. It might have worked before, but it doesn't mean to say it's going to work now. I mean, it's not working. You adapt and you change. You just don't do the same thing over and over and over and over again. I said in the pub to Matt about Mourinho. Mourinho was brilliant when he first came in because he upset things. He did things differently. 15 years on, he's not the special one. He's not an amazing manager anymore because he's still doing the same things that worked 15 years ago. And that, for me, is the biggest thing. And that's what we need. We need a manager who's innovative, who's prepared to adapt in game. And I'm absolutely positive he's not available. But someone like Ryan Lowe is exactly what you want. He's positive, he adapts in game, and he adapts between games to suit what's coming. That's not saying you're setting up the same as the opposition like McCarthy used to. That's saying I'm reactive and I can do stuff to affect games. Time after time under Cook, we came up short against 3 at the back teams because they crowded out our single striker and they overloaded by having 2 strikers up front. And we had nothing in response to that. And that's a serious failing of Cook's management. And that's ultimately why he's here, because of his inflexibility. And we need somebody with flexibility, whether that is an established manager like Ryan Lowe, or whether it's somebody else who I haven't thought of, not on my radar, to coin a phrase. Cool. I have no idea who'll come next, but that's what we want, a tactically flexible manager.
Wow, well said as ever. I'm sure Matt and Bono, everything's been stolen pretty much there. But I'll go over to you, Matt.
Sorry.
It's fine. But yeah, Matt, where do you think it went wrong for Paul Cook in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot left to say there after David put it very eloquently. But yeah, I think the inflexibility is a huge part of it, and even like philosophical differences aside, I think it's the inflexibility in game that wasn't helpful. It was very much we didn't learn how to react, and you don't want to see us necessarily, like you say, matching up like for like we did under Mick, but there was no game management. Subs were often quite late. I mean, I was nearly fell off my chair if I hadn't already been standing up. That we actually made a sub at half time today, which you don't see, and I think even the second sub came probably just before 70 minutes. It was normally that last 20 minutes. I mean, bringing Piggott on for however long it was the other week, right in the injury time, just seemed almost sort of lip service. Well, I said I'd get him on the pitch, so I've got him on the pitch. But yeah, it's difficult. I wanted it to work for Paul Cook. I wasn't against his appointment initially, and I think Bono said earlier he did a lot to reconnect with the fans. How toxic it got under Paul Lambert towards the end. But I'm parroting what other people have said, but it is true. When he came out at the end of matches, it was almost like a fan coming in talking about what they'd seen. He'd be asked questions about analysis. Oh, I'm not going to analyse that, but you're the manager. You need to analyse that, even if it's a soundbite analysis. I just, yeah, the passion was great, but it's only going to take you so far. I've got a lot of passion for Ipswich Town Football Club, but I suspect I wouldn't do a very good job as a manager. My old football manager saves will pay testament to that, actually. But again, a lot of signings in the summer, and for a man who's wedded to 4-2-3-1, it didn't feel that we quite got all the round pegs to go in the round holes. We didn't have the attacking fullbacks that he wanted. We didn't have that cover hemorrhaging goals at the start of the season, and then I think David's right. Circumstances of a victim. I think Burns being out recently, I don't think it's a coincidence, Burns being out, that Bond's goals have dried up, because you go back and watch a lot of Bond's goals, that they're coming from Wes Burns sort of playing clever down that right-hand side and putting in great balls. And don't get me wrong, Aluko's done very well on that side, but he's not that same kind of player as Burns, because he's left-footed. He's not going to be able to get inside the man like Burns can do. And the other effect, really, Burns, is it did help Danassian push up the pitch when he came in. So that the left-hand side is the obvious problem there, but I think the right-hand side has been impacted in recent weeks as well. And Bond, the last few games I've been to, I obviously went today. I went to the Arsenal game on Wednesday, and I was at Crewe on Sunday. And all three of those games, 2 out of the 3 games, I should say, rather, because Bond didn't play on Wednesday night. Bond's cut a very isolated figure. In that he's not really been getting the service that he was used to in the early part of his time here. But again, there's been no adaptation to that from Paul Cook. And I think the introduction of Piggott today, and sort of almost that pseudo 4-4-2 that we were playing at times, sort of slipping between that and back to a 4-2-3-1, in that Bond could bring the ball down under control, and Piggott was there, and there was some good passing between the two of them, movement to create a few chances, certainly that last 10-15 minutes. So why didn't we try that sooner? It's I'm disappointed it's gone wrong for him, but I think he has in a way been sort of the architect of his own downfall, really.
Yeah, that's a great point just there. And Bono, the final say on this then, 4-2-3-1. Is that where it went all wrong for Paul Cook, you reckon, just being stubborn with that formation?
I think it's certainly a huge factor, Ross. The fact that, the recruitment, like the guys have said, was a little bit lopsided, very, very top heavy. And then, you sign the best number 10 in the league in Scott Fraser, and you play him out on the left. Things like that. Just, again, today, for example, seeing Fraser there and Chaplin in the middle getting out jumped by those big, burly League Two defenders, should never have happened today. Sadly, it did. But I admire anybody's tenacity to be able to stick to, their footballing traditions and their footballing beliefs. And clearly, the 4-2-3-1 has worked for Cook. He's had success. He was brought in. to mirror that at his former clubs, and he's got a history of being able to get teams of our size out of this league. And there's been some talk about, was he really? He was an Evans appointment, but the new owners very, very quickly came in and said, "Hey, look, we would have appointed this guy, and we're lucky that Marcus did, because it saved them a job." But I think today was the straw that broke the camel's back, really. Just that, and like Matt said, the in-game management, the kind of stubbornness and refusal to adapt and change, late substitutions, and almost like minor things that are quite irksome. Things like echoes of the Lambert era, where when a play stops, you just give it back to the goalie, or you pass it backwards, or you pass it sideways. The short free kicks. Set pieces are much better this season, but they're still not great. And when you look, I know there's a saying, football is played on grass, it's not played on paper. But on paper, this side have failed. And like Matt said, referring to Morsey's tweet, they need to take a good hard look at themselves, because a lot of them are 100% Paul Cook signings, and the new manager. I won't say the new man, because we've got very, very forward-thinking owners, and dare I say, they might bring in a female manager. Who knows? Personally, I would love it. Without sounding too much like Kevin Keegan, that would be absolutely groundbreaking. So we shall see.
Phones aren't big enough, Bono.
That's right. Who knows what the future brings? But I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him around the club. I was quite fond of the guy. He kind of had that everyman appeal. Disappointed at the fact he didn't use a more sustainable coffee cup, but that's a minor thing. But I'm very sorry for him, because the last few cup games I've been able to change seats. So when they close the Cobbold, I usually try and sit either in front of Stu and Andy in the press box or behind the benches. And the players just don't listen to him. Against Oldham, Penny just did not listen. Cook was giving him quite simple instructions, quite clear. Half the ground could hear it. Penny just wasn't doing it. And then he was out the side for a month, and quite rightly too. Because if you're a professional footballer and you can't follow tactics, you don't deserve to be on the pitch. Like the guys have said, that left side, the left side, the right side, the middle bit, it's just so disjointed. And the players, it's such a good squad. We do have the best squad in the league. I'm not being arrogant when I say that. It's a fact. But good players are only good players when they're actually good. Because if they're crap, they're not good. And I'd much rather, you saw the work rate, the passion, of the desire, the organisation from Barrow. They come a hell of a long way today, and they were organised, and they stopped us playing. And this belief system that we had to sit back at home and try and there aren't that many well-known teams that are successful that don't attack at home. And yeah, our system has worked away. We do have a half decent away record, but when you're at home, you got to attack. And yeah, you need to temper it slightly and not go too gung ho. We saw how that didn't work at the start of the season. But yeah, I'm sad. I'm gutted for Paul. I don't know what his next move is. Who knows who the next man is or woman? So we shall see. But it's exciting, and that adds extra spice to the game. In South London on Tuesday night, which I've been lucky enough to secure a ticket to. We do lots of different spice. So I don't think there's much. I don't know. When you look at our managerial appointments in the past, and those missed opportunities, and all of these guys that have gone on to do really, really well, that kind of came second or third to Paul Hurst. We are lucky now, and I say we're lucky because the last kind of 15, 20 years we have not had the engine room of the club that we have desired or deserved. But we've got football people at the helm, and I'm pretty sure that they will make the right appointment and the right appointment for the club. We might even have an interim manager. It might be somebody that just takes it for 6 months, knowing that, hey, maybe we might be in store for, this breaks my heart, a 4th season in the 3rd tier of English professional football. Or are we going to have some unknown from the continent, some almost like a Daniel Farker figure who's done really well for like a youth setup abroad, and he comes in and he brings his kind of army of German, Italian, Dutch, Swedish, you name it. I don't care where they're from. I just want them to win games and sign players that give a damn. And I think did do that. We've signed a lot of people this year who they're good people. And, you know, the owners have said, you know, we wanted the players that were joining us to buy into our ethos that is running towards adversity. And I think we've got that. So I don't think we need wholesale changes. I'm very wary of January transfer windows. Mark Ashton's already come out and said on record that he doesn't like them. They're pointless. So I can't think really of anybody that needs to go. I do think our squad is perhaps a little bit too big. I think it's a shame because people like El Mazzuni and Dobra, who's gone out on loan, I think, you know, we should be developing them. So who knows? It's exciting, but you know, this news tinged with a little bit of sadness. But there we go. We'll miss you, Paul Cook. We'll miss your coffee. We'll miss your Scouse humour. We'll miss your 2 voices. That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, who knows?
All right. I think that's the perfect way to end it there. That's half an hour worth of us discussing Paul Cook. I've also got a Chinese in the living room, so I'd like to eat that. But David, Matt, Bono, thanks so much for joining me. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on this news. I'm sure you're shocked. Yes, Paul Cook has been sacked as Ipswich Town manager. Many more videos, many more analysts coming up from the boys. Look out for that. See you then.